Welcome to the History in Me podcast. I'm your host, Lacole Pearls Pearling. This podcast is going to take us on pretty much a journey of self-discovery for me, of understanding why I feel the way I feel about being in the Black community as a whole, and also the history of St. Louis. I've been born and raised in St. Louis, and I realized in my early mid-20s now that I don't really know my city. Living in St. Louis and realizing, you know what? I don't know St. Louis. Because growing up, I know other people probably went around different parts of the city, but there was this issue of what the media portrayed, how dangerous St. Louis is. It seems as if there's this distaste between St. Louis City and St. Louis County that I've been discovering and better understanding for myself. And I pretty much got to a point where I said, you know what? Let me get to know St. Louis. Let me see what's good about my city. Because I grew up and people around me, people in school, we were constantly going, I can't wait to get out of St. Louis. Can't wait to get out of St. Louis. It's just a terrible place. All these different things. I was taught to hate the city. I was taught to dislike St. Louis. I was taught to dislike people in general. The media, the news, the stereotypes. And that leads me over to my distaste when it comes to, I'm a Black woman, by the way. 24-year-old young Black woman. I am a Black American. Born and raised in America. Never been outside the country. Don't know how other countries operate. But here, in St. Louis, in the United States, as a Black individual, I want there to be more examples of quote-unquote Black excellence. But I also see how we're portrayed in the media, on the news, what you would hear. But then I would also see on a daily basis people that play into and actually are the stereotype. So I can't even be upset at how we're being portrayed, which is why I take pride in being a good representation for the Black community, for women, for Black women, all the above. But I see so many examples that makes me weary of my own kind. Makes me weary of different elements of our culture. So I'm going on this journey to better understand the history behind what led our community to get to this point. So this whole History in Me podcast, I realized for myself that we all have our own individual stories. I'm partnered with Invest STL. I decided to partner with them and go on this storytelling practice. I told them from the jump. I told them from the very first session, because we're just a couple months in now, but I told them from the very first session, I said, y'all, I am here to investigate St. Louis, because most of the people there are trying to change the narratives and bring more perspective from the actual residents and citizens in the North City area. You know, Kingsville, Kings Highway, Martin Luther King Jr., the Ville areas, Kingsway, both east and west, pretty much North St. Louis City. Remember, I said how I'm from North County. Completely different areas, completely different. In St. Louis, you're going to hear about all these different counties. You're going to hear about all these different environments, these different neighborhoods, and trying to come together as a city. Because the city itself, to me, is extremely divided.